Hello and welcome to today's video. Today, I want to give you a quick start guide for how to begin probiotics if you are extremely sensitive. So we're going to be using the delactate-free probiotic powder by Custom Probiotics. As you can see, mine's a little bit old. These actually keep well past the expiration date if you store them well, even after they start to go a bit clumpy. So you're going to see here, they're a little bit clumpy inside. These are actually still totally fine. Once they start to clump, they still last about 6 months to a year after that. So these are what we're going to be using today. If you are extremely sensitive, I have some other options for if you are extremely sensitive. And I understand what that's like. I have clients that are like this all the time. It's totally fine. We need to find a way to start. So I'm going to walk you through the procedure, like the process of how you get to such a small dose that you can start even if you're really sensitive. I'm going to use this powder. If you are quite sensitive, but not extremely sensitive, then this is what I would go with. The delactate-free probiotic by Custom Probiotics. If you are highly sensitive, what I would actually suggest is we start with one of the probiotics that are in this product, and we start just with a single strain. So in here, we've got L. rhamnosus, Salvarius, B. lactis, B. bifidum, B. infantis, and B. longum. Of these 6 organisms, the ones that I find to be the most gentle for us to get started with initially are the B. infantis and the B. longum. So if you are extremely sensitive, if the idea of even taking this probiotic is terrifying to you based on past reactions to probiotics that you've had, based on being extremely sensitive, if whatever the reason is, if taking this is too much of a big step, then start by just taking one of the strains that's present in this probiotic. I would personally recommend the infantis or the longum if you are really sensitive. If the only one you can get is, say, the rhamnosus or the salvaricus or the lactis, you could try with that as well. But I will say that the most gentle ones in here are the longum and the infantis. So these are the 2 that I would recommend to start with. So we're going to get our probiotic powder and we're going to get a glass like this, as you can see there. So what we need for this is we need a glass. We need to use the same glass every single day. We need the probiotic powder, which you have here, and you need a serving spoon. This is the small serving spoon that comes with this probiotic. So this is the small one that comes with it. Comes with a bigger one. Don't have it because we don't need it today. If you don't have this, you can use anything. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the smallest standardized measurement that you can reliably, repeatedly get. And we also need some water. So I actually have a big chunky bottle of water over here. So what we do is we're going to add water to this glass. And we want to make sure that we go for the exact same amount every single time. What I would recommend that you do, if this is a process that you're going to do, I would get like a permanent marker and I would use the same glass. I would draw a little line somewhere like it. I didn't bring my permanent marker because Joanna will kill me if I mark this glass, because I don't need to do this anymore. But I would get a pen and I would leave a mark on this glass here, so that you know exactly how much water you need to put in. The reason this whole method works is because we're being very consistent and we're making sure we get a reliable dose, and we can do this repeatedly over and over again. This is what's going to allow us to incrementally increase the dose over time, and this is going to allow us to make measurable progress without causing significant adverse responses. So it's really important that we do this and we conduct this like a scientific experiment, because we need to make sure that we're getting repeatable results over and over and over again. So once you filled your glass and you marked it for the first time, every time you do this again, you're always going to fill it to the same point. Then you're going to take the small scoop, or you could use like the tip of a really sharp knife. Is very common, what a lot of people do. And we're basically going to go in here and we're going to get the smallest amount of powder that you can get reliably. I just wasted a lot of that, but oh well, the cost sometimes. This is a bit hard because I have some clumps in here. So with clumps, it's much harder. So I want to get the clump to fall off. So you can see I've got a tiny dose of powder here. Teeny tiny dose. And if this is too much for you, we can even bring this down to, it's a bit hard to do because mine's a bit sticky because it's a bit old. If you get it new, it's much easier. So you see this tiny dose. This little tiny dose, this looks absolutely ridiculous. This is the clue that you're doing this right, is the dose looks stupid. This looks like the most ridiculous thing that you've ever seen. If it looks like there's anything like a realistic size dose, you're doing too much. You need to start on something that is pathetically small. So we take this really tiny dose, but you have to make sure it's reliably measurable. I'm going to say this is a bit too hard to measure consistently. So I'm going to try and get a dose that's a little bit bigger than that. So it's something that's reliable, repeatable. So I'm going to go with this tiny little dose here. And we're going to sprinkle this in the water here. So you can see, I don't know if you can, how well the camera's picking out. It is tiny. It is ridiculously spot. It is the tiniest dose you could possibly imagine. We're just going to put that in there and let it dissolve. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. I can see the probiotic slowly coming down here. It's kind of dissolving into that. Store this, put this back in the fridge. This keeps for ages. If you're doing this kind of dose, this is going to last you like 3 years. I don't have a spoon with me. I didn't prepare very well for this. So I'm going to risk using I'm going to pretend. So you get your spoon and you put it in here and you mix this up really, really well. So you stir this really, really well. And you want to make sure this is completely dissolved. What we're doing here, in essence, is we're trying to dissolve that very fraction dose into the mixture evenly. So we want to make sure that we stir it really, really well. And once we've done this, we're going to take this mixture, and I need you to watch how ridiculous this is. We're going to take this dose and we're going to do this. This is all you do. So we've just taken that tiny, minuscule dose. We've mixed it in here. We've stirred it really well. This is how you take your first dose. Watch. That's it. That's all you take. And you throw the rest of this away. That is your first dose. People tell me all the time, I'm too sensitive. I can't tolerate probiotics. I tell you, you're doing it too fast. You're not doing it right. You see how ridiculous that is. This is a process that I work through with my clients all the time. This is a process that I had to do myself. I actually learned this the hard way by trying to force it, but this is the best way to do it. We start on that tiny little sip and you throw the rest away. Then the next day, assuming you aren't having too many reactions, if you have an increase in your symptoms that's more than a 2 out of 10 above your baseline, then you need to not take any more. You need to wait until your symptoms calm all the way back down. And you might be thinking, that's ridiculous. How could I still have symptoms after taking such a small dose? I see it all the time. My clients, they can be this sensitive. So if this happens, you wait until the reaction completely stops. As soon as you have a day where you're not having a reaction anymore, you do the full procedure. So you get the glass, you fill it with the same amount of water, you put the tiny dose of probiotic, you get your glass again, and then you take one sip. That's it. And you do this until you can get to the point where you're taking that one sip every single day without an increase of more than a 2 out of 10 in your symptoms. Once you get to that point, what we do the same procedure. So we fill the glass up to the exact same point that you've drawn the little pen mark on. We add the same amount of probiotics, so the same tiny microscopic dose that you saw in that little spoon. And then we do 1, 2. That's it. And we throw the rest away. And we literally build this up one sip at a time. Obviously, you want to do this as quickly as you can, because the faster you can do this, the faster you're going to heal. And I know that you've probably been dealing with health problems for a really long period of time, and you're tired of having food sensitivities and autoimmunity, chronic fatigue syndrome. And I know I've been there. I have all these things. I totally get where you're at. And I know that every time you take a probiotic, it makes it a million times worse in the short term. That's because it's solving the problem. It's fixing the issue. It's not the probiotics that you're reacting to. It's the interaction between the probiotics, these beneficial organisms, and the negative organisms that are inhabiting your digestive system. So we have to move these organisms out. And just taking antibiotics or antimicrobials doesn't work, because as soon as you stop taking those things, there's no beneficial flora to crowd them out. We have to start with probiotics. It's essential, because these are the organisms that are supposed to be there. These are the organisms that regulate your leaky gut. These are the organisms that influence how your body secretes immunoglobulins and immune compounds. This is how you beat a chronic dysbiosis. This is how you beat SIBO. This is how you beat candida. This is how you essentially fix any health problem that's connected to a dysbiosis in the digestive system. You have to start really small and build your dose up slowly over time. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where you're doing this and you're drinking half or even the full glass all in one go. At this point, this thing kind of becomes unnecessary. Maybe you can start taking the small dose in the little spoon. Where is it? I got it somewhere. Probably I left it inside the probiotic, because this is where I usually keep it. Yep. So I left it in here. You're going to take that small spoon, and once you get to a dose that's small enough, you can just put it on your tongue and just drink a little bit of water with it. If you start to do that and you're starting to have crazy reactions, you have to go back to this method and you have to start doing it really, really slowly. You absolutely have to do this. I procrastinated starting probiotics because the reactions were really, really bad and it delayed my healing process. You 100% have to do this. You have to change the composition of your microbiome. These organisms that are present in a probiotic like this, these are physiologically appropriate organisms. These are the bugs that are supposed to be in your digestive system. The only time I would ever consider not taking these organisms is if you've done a stool test and you can specifically see that one of these organisms that's in here is overgrown. So if you did a stool test and you saw your Bifidobacterium longum is overgrown, then maybe you don't do this. But even then, anytime you have an overgrowth, there's usually an imbalance. You'll usually be missing a lot of the other Bifido species. And stool testing is biased towards what's happening in your colon. It's not telling you about what's happening in your small intestine. And that's the most important place in histamine intolerance, in leaky gut, in autoimmunity, in SIBO. Is all about the small intestine. So even with testing results that potentially contraindicate these things, these often tend to still be really, really important. If you feel confused, if you feel stuck, if you feel like you need somebody to hold your hand and walk you through this process, please reach out, shoot me an email, support@williamdickinson.co.uk. I'd be really happy to help you. I work with sensitive people all the time. I've worked with people that are on benzo withdrawal. I've worked with people that have severe histamine mast cell problems, anaphylaxis. I've worked with people that have had to do this method. I've worked with hundreds of people that have worked one step at a time. And when healing is literally happening one sip at a time, it feels so slow. You need someone to be there with you and help you feel like you can do this and you can make this progress. So I hope that gives you something to get started with. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you need anything, shoot me an email, support@williamdickinson.co.uk. I'll be really happy to give you a hand. So that's everything from me today. Hope it helps. Take care and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.